I'm Father D.
And I'm Phil.
And we're the robe and the suit. A Christian podcast combining varying perspective and a witty debate on the impact of the Orthodox word on everyday life.
So here we are, Forgiveness Sunday.
We're back.
Oh man, this is another one of those. Like I got a lot here. Okay, I got a lot here.
Let me guess. You got a problem with this one too?
I don't have a problem.
Okay.
I've learned.
All right.
I've learned over the years. You know, when I was a little kid going to school here,
okay,
we would always learn how to go to confession.
Oh.
And then ask for forgiveness.
Okay.
God bless his soul. There was an assistant priest here, Father Spiropoulos. He was a very old man, wore a woolen hat, almost like Saint Spiridon, your patron saint.
Sure.
And once a month we would all line up and we would go, and we were taught that, forgiveness comes with confession. And so I get it. I grew up all the way through this. One of the things that started happening to me after I got married was my wife and I instilled this notion of forgiving each other. My aunt taught me this many years ago.
Okay.
So right before communion, during the liturgy,
right,
the kids and Kat and I, and my mom too, if she's around, we would say, "Sichore seme," please forgive me.
Forgive me.
And then the response is, "Sichore menos nase," so you are forgiven. All right, so I get all that, but man, there's some other stuff here. There's something about treasures. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. There's an element again of humility, of course, and then being able to forgive people and let it go.
Let it go. Let it go.
So let's talk about this because, letting it go it's not just about me letting it go, then it's about others letting it go because they're on the other side of me forgiving them. Yeah, it's complicated. Forgiveness.
Yes.
You tell me.
Okay.
Sort me out here.
Okay, Phil. Well, the question is, do you like to feel bad?
No. Okay, I know what you mean. Yeah, I feel crappy when I get in it with somebody.
No, because
it lingers. I hate it.
Let's talk about this. Sometimes it feels good to feel bad. Meaning, for some reason, we linger in bad feelings. We like to hold on to past grudges. We like to feel pain and hurt and regret and anger sometimes. We all do. Yeah. There is some small element that for some reason we get this, a gratification where, well, at least if I'm hurting, maybe it means something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it because you're getting it off your chest, so you're relieved. I'm fine. Boom, I explode.
Boom. Right.
It's off my chest.
Right. But the problem is...
But then later, it's never gone.
The problem is, do we hold on to that?
Yeah.
Do we hold on to those feelings when someone hurts us?
Yeah.
Right? Because essentially what we're doing is we're poisoning our own system. Right? If you hurt me, right, let's say you've done 1 point of damage. I have a choice. I can hurt you back. Okay. I can say, all right, fine. Right. I can retaliate. You hurt me, I'm going to hurt you back. I can take your hurt that you've given me and brood on it and stew on it and not tell you that I'm upset with you, but just feel that hurt and let that hurt turn into anger, turn into hatred, turn into malice. I'm choosing to not let that pain go for some reason.
Okay.
So forgiveness, in my mind, is that ability. And God, I think God has to give us the grace to do this, because sometimes it's real hard. I get it.
Yeah.
How do we let that pain, let that frustration, let that betrayal, whatever it is, how do we let it go? How do we let it like a duck, right? Yeah. What do we say? Like water off a duck's back, right? Like off of a turtle's shell. How do we let it bounce off? How do we let it roll off? How do we let it not stick? So forgiveness is that call to action where Christ says, if you forgive, God will forgive you. Mm-hmm. But if you don't forgive, God will not forgive you.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. So that's the other part of this, right? Sort it out, or you're going to have bigger problems.
Right.
When you're trying to figure out what you're doing in this life.
Right.
And that's the building block of then this anxiety and this hurtful pain.
Right.
And finding a way to go, okay, let's get over it. Get over it. And it's hard to do because you're focused on what it did to you.
Right. Right. Because what did it actually hurt? And what I would proffer is, it doesn't hurt the real self. It doesn't hurt the Christ image within us. It hurts the built up false image that we all create. It hurts the ego. It hurts the false mask of identity. It hurts the image that we make, that we build, that we create. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when someone hurts our ego, when someone, throws a stone and makes us look bad in front of someone else, they're not really hurting you. They're hurting the ego. And when the ego gets hurt, watch out, because the ego is capable of all kinds of unspeakable violence, terror, you name it. And I'm sure you've seen it firsthand, right? People lashing out, people exploding, people, how dare you?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it happens. It happens every day in the work environment, because again, of things going wrong or things not happening. Or one person didn't carry up their end of it. They screwed it up for everybody else. John Wooden, the famous UCLA coach, wrote a book, Wooden on Leadership. And one of the components in there was, it's not about you. Get over it. It's about the team. Okay, so if somebody didn't get you the ball, or somebody made a remark about you shooting too much, or somebody, bumped into you about, hey, your own play.
Right.
Get over it.
Get over it. It's not about you.
It's not about you. It's about the entire team. Let's not hold it and carry it on. Let's clear it up right then. He would clear it up right then. Everything would stop, and they'd have a conversation about what's going on here.
It's about the team.
It's about the team. It's about the coming together of all that, and it's not the superficial stuff about what you just said. Okay, you hurt my pride, you hurt my ego.
Me, because it's all me.
Yeah, I'm the shooter, I'm the guy.
Boo-hoo, me.
Yeah.
But this Wooden is saying, forget about you.
Yeah, he had many. UCLA back in the old days, it was an incredible. It was the epitome of what teams were, how they came together. They put everything aside, and it was all about winning, all about the scene.
I like that.
And it was a complete, comprehensive conversation about, nobody's bigger than the team, and these type of things you got to get over it.
So in this story, the team would be, let's say, the church.
True.
So let's say all the people in the pews, if all of us are just solely fixated on me, myself, and I.
Yeah, it was like.
Then. Yeah. The church would not be able to. We wouldn't be scoring any field goals.
No, we as a community wouldn't move together. We as a community
move forward.
Yeah, we wouldn't have any trust for each other. It would be bitterness. We wouldn't grow. The ministries wouldn't be, there wouldn't be engagement.
Right.
You know, there's a whole spiral.
Right.
And then, of course, it affects what was in the gospel about treasures.
Right.
That whole notion of, you know.
Make sure you put your heart where your treasure is.
Where your treasure is, and is your treasure on the individual MVP award.
Right.
It's a beautiful cup, beautiful trophy. But is it for the bigger trophy, the team trophy, the national championship? I mean, it's March Madness, right? So in that environment with basketball, it was about that. And in any team sport, you start to hear about it. And humility is a very big part of this. It's also that way in a work environment. If you as a leader don't show humility and have the ability to forgive something that went wrong, and then be able to rally around it and make it positive, you lose trust. You know, the culture of the organization starts to crack. And then it's one bad thing after another. Where in this instance, I guess your message is get over it, pretty much.
Well, I think in both cases, if you're the player, let's say, and you make a bad shot, right?
Yeah.
You need to be able to forgive yourself, essentially, and just let it go and make the next shot.
Yeah.
Right? And if your teammate makes a bad shot, don't hold it against him. Get over it. Pass him the ball again the next time.
Right.
Is that fair to say? Right?
Yeah.
You forgive yourself, but also you're forgiving your neighbor.
Yeah. And sometimes we don't even see it as forgiveness, you know. There's this thing right now on Netflix, The Dynasty. It's about the New England Patriots. Okay. Some people love them, some people hate them.
Sure.
But they were champions for many, many years.
Right.
Super Bowls gazoo.
Right.
They were 19-0 the one season they finally went to the Super Bowl.
Right.
And they were like, here we are, God's greatest gifts to mankind.
I remember that.
We got it, baby. We got this. We got this. We got Tom Brady. We're the ones. And then they were shocked by the Giants because the guy caught that ball on his helmet and they lost. And they, you know,
great game.
They didn't fold. I mean, it was devastating.
Yeah, of course.
And everybody played a role in the loss.
Yeah.
But the following year, they came back. They decided they were going to let it go. They decided they were going to look at what went wrong. They decided that it wasn't going to be one person's problem. They took it upon themselves, and the dynasty, you know, continued.
Right.
I mean, internally, you know, there's all sorts of issues. But still, they were able to overcome it and continue to do some of these things. It's no different than you're talking about, I guess, with the community or even in a work environment. You got to have your team together.
Right.
But well, Father, it's really hard. What's a good way to like?
Well, one thing that keeps resonating in my mind as we're talking sports, we're talking church, we're talking basketball, we're talking football, is mental toughness. To forgive yourself, to forgive others, requires a level of mental and emotional toughness.
Yeah.
Because when we hold on to things, and when we hold on to pain, and when we hold on to grudges, and when we hold on to negative emotions, it can denote a weakness.
Right.
On the flip side, when we can move on, right? When we can get past something and say, oh, yes, I felt hurt, but I'm going to confront it. I'm going to move on. I'm going to do something about it. And tomorrow's going to be a new day, right?
Yeah.
What does that say?
Yeah.
That's a level of solidarity, of being resilient, of having resiliency in mind, body, and spirit. And I think that's the kind of people that we need, especially in this day and age, because there's a lot of real thin-skinned people.
Yeah.
And a little bit of forgiveness, I think, can go a long ways.
Yeah. I mean, you hear more about, grace and show a little patience, but interesting you bring that up, the mental discipline, mental toughness. It's talked about in sports all the time as you grow up, but you don't apply it into your religious practices. Like here I am all these years, okay? I've heard this parable, I've heard this preaching, I've heard this gospel over and over again. It was more about, trying to figure out how to forgive. But then you never think about, look, this is a mental discipline. This is something you got to get emotionally, around and do it.
Right.
Like you were telling the kids.
Right.
What'd you call it?
A magic eraser.
Eraser.
It's an eraser. Imagine forgiveness being like an eraser.
Yeah.
Just wipe it away. Yeah. Wipe away those feelings, those pains, those sorrows, those mistakes. You don't forget them because we got to learn from mistakes.
Right.
But if you can remove some of those residual pains, then that opens room for higher orders of thinking, higher orders of feeling.
Right. It was funny because you were like talking to me in that, in that sermon, because it was almost like we do this, with our family all the time, and everybody's like, this, that, the other, there's always like a reason why.
You know how many people call me after my sermon and say, Father, where did you hear that about me? Were you talking about me? I said, no, please. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me. I'm talking about all of us. Yeah. We're all in the same boat.
Yeah. No, it felt like a ping. And here's the other part about all this, right? Which is getting to the work we're doing with this very fun ministry. The older you get, okay, the more tolerant you become in understanding these things. I'm in a much newer place now when you think about, mental discipline and toughness.
Right.
Mentally.
Right.
About my religion. Where that doesn't mean I didn't have mental toughness when I was growing up and I was playing sports and I was involved in those type of competitive activities in the work I do in a corporate environment, Right. So the message speaks to you. It could be the same Bible reading next year. It'll have some kind of
resonate differently.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it is, forgiveness is one of those hard things to do. And we need all the help we can get.
Brother, it's by the grace of God, a little bit of luck sometimes.
Yeah.
And a little bit of will, right? Sometimes you have to say, I will work on this, or God, help me forgive. A very simple prayer, for those of us out there that can't forgive or feel like, God, help me forgive this person. I don't know how. But help me forgive. Show me the way to forgiveness. And you never know what light might emerge through the darkness.
Sure. Whew! I'm exhausted. That was hard.
Good stuff.
Thank you, Father.
Right.
Sikhore
May God forgive us both.
I got you. Thanks a lot.
Have a blessed Lent.
You too. Have a great week.
His sweetheart is watching him.
And that's a wrap for The Robe and the Suit, a Christian podcast combining varying perspective and witty debate on the impact of the Orthodox word on everyday life.
Download and listen wherever you get your latest podcasts.
There's no need for you to dress up. Leave the robe and the suit to us.
And jump in the fray.